Hello, I'm Tina Cardona. Safety and connection, strategies to build relationships in the classroom. Please take note that although these are interventions that build a positive socio-emotional climate in the classroom, they are still part of the continuum of positive behavioral interventions and supports. Emotional safety must come first. As you learned earlier, children in survival states often shut down or go into fight or flight, particularly if we escalate them, by not helping them to move out of lower brain states. Telling children to just get back to work rarely works as a strategy if the student has moved into a lower brain state, as their body language indicates. So first, as adults, we must identify the brain state. If the student is nonverbal and seems to have shut down, this would indicate that he is in a survival state. Remember, that means fight or flight. If the student is verbal but whiny, most likely she is in an emotional state. And if the student can provide an answer, then he or she is most likely in his executive state. Once we've identified the brain state, then we can identify the need. We must help students move to higher brain states. A student in survival needs safety. A student in the emotional state needs connection, and a student in the executive state needs information. Keep in mind that most of our students come to us in the limbic or emotional state. All the strategies that you will learn will primarily address this state, but are effective for every level. Here is an overview of some of the skills that we will cover. First of all, we must monitor ourselves so that we can avoid becoming a trigger and pushing a child into a lower brain state. Watch the embedded video.
Welcome to Conscious Clips and Our Time Together. Today we're going to talk about button pushing. Now everyone has had their buttons pushed by something. It could be children whining for some people. For others it's children talking back. For many of us it's traffic. One friend of mine hated it when her husband wadded up the washcloth and stuck it in the corner of the bathroom. I mean, this drove her nuts. So how do we handle the dreaded washcloths in our lives? Now, to understand this, we need a bit more, we need to dig a little bit deeper into this. So one of the things I want you to think about is how many of you have had a brilliant moment? I mean, I'm talking, there was conflict in front of you, the kids might have been fighting, if you're a teacher, it was just a mess in the classroom, and at that moment, the right words at the right time just fell out of your mouth. You don't even know where they came from. And that conflict in front of you just went and just dissipated. When that happens, we're accessing the higher centers of our brain called the frontal lobe. This is where our consciousness is. But when we access the frontal lobes of our brain, it doesn't mean we're taking this little piece and working with it. It means we're integrated. Our whole brain is in use in this situation. Now, how many of you said, when I grow up, I'm never going to blank my children? And then how many have already blanked their children? The situation here is that when we react, when our buttons get pushed, we downshift from the higher centers of our brain into the lower centers of our brain, and we open our mouth, and out comes our mother or our father or our grandmother. Now, this is a hard space for us to be in for three reasons. First, when you get into a reactive button-pushing mode, you end up, one, reacting. Two, you end up demonstrating the exact skill you're trying to eliminate in children. You'll find yourself going, I said be quiet and stop yelling. So you'll yell at them to be quiet. You'll grab things and says, you know better than to grab things from your brother, so we'll grab to try to teach them from stop grabbing. And the third thing is that later on, whether it's 5, 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes later, an hour, we start feeling guilty. We feel like, oh my gosh, look what I've done. I swore I'd never do that. And here's the big thing. Permissiveness always follows guilt. So once you start feeling guilty for your behavior as a parent or a teacher, then you're going to start being permissive. And what does this look like in real life? Well, it could be that you have a 6-year-old who says, I want a pair of sneakers, and they cost $100. And you go, there's no way on earth you're going to get those sneakers. No way. It's too expensive. I'm not buying them. And she whines all day long and fusses all day long through dinner. About 8 o'clock at night, you've had it, and you just get so triggered that you start screaming and yelling, acting just like you swore you never would. You go to bed at night feeling guilty. You wake up the next morning and said, Mama has found the money. You're going to get those shoes, baby. And so what we do is we give in. So when we give in to children, it creates anxiety. They don't know where the limits are. So how do we go about doing this? And the beautiful thing about conscious discipline is you can take your buttons, you can take your triggers, which are wounds from your childhood, and when a child pushes them, whether as a teacher, a parent, or a colleague, or a spouse, instead of reacting, what you want to do is be a star. Take a big, deep breath. And when you do that, not only do you help the next generation avoid those wounds, you heal yourself. You can take difficult moments, start healing your own buttons from your own childhood, and significantly improve on your parenting and teaching and relationships that you have right now. When your buttons get pushed, you're going to take some deep breaths, 3 deep breaths before you open your mouth. This will desensitize the triggers from your childhood, and it will start healing those buttons. The second thing is be conscious of the trigger thoughts it generates. You're going to have a CD-ROM that gets installed, and you'll hear such thoughts in your head as, I don't have to put up with this. He's not going to treat me like this anymore. Or you might have, I work so hard, I don't know why people do this to me. You're going to have a CD-ROM playing, and you're going to overlay that CD-ROM with, I'm safe, I'm calm, I can handle this. So here's your homework. Your buttons get pushed, take a deep breath, trigger thoughts start playing, replace them with new ones. I'm safe, I'm calm, I can handle this. Until next time, I wish you well.
Once we've gained our own composure and breathed into a calm state, we can then give empathy. Fear cannot abide where there is understanding. Always begin with gentle eye contact. Follow with, you seem, fill in the blank. Something must have happened. Then label the emotion by saying, it's frustrating when someone is playing with the toy you want. Labeling gives a child the words so that eventually they learn to talk it out rather than act it out, and gives them a sense of mastery. Now watch the embedded video.
Welcome to Conscious Clips and Our Time Together. Today we're going to talk about empathy. And empathy is the key skill needed to handling the fussing and fits in your life, as well as maintaining connection through conflict. Now, everybody has fits. I had 3 just yesterday. We watch baseball players have fits with other team members, with the referee. We have radio shows where people just call in for the sole purpose of having a fit. So what happens? What is a fit? A fit really occurs when the world is not going our way. It's the general emotional term I use to describe when we resist what is. So when a 2-year-old throws a fit because you took the crayons away while they're scribbling on the floor, it's not going their way. When a 4-year-old says, I hate you because they can't have cookies before dinner, it's not going their way. When a 9-year-old slams the door because they can't have a sleepover, the world is not going their way. And this goes all the way up to a 60-year-old driving down the highway furious at someone who's got their blinkers on for the last 10 miles. The world is not going our way. So the first step, since fits occur when we resist what is, the first step in handling them is to accept what is. The moment is as it is. So when it first happens, we're going to take a breath and say the moment is as it is, as opposed to, what are you doing? What should you be doing? You should have your shoes by now. Resisting what is makes it worse. Disappointment and frustration are hard skills to handle. So one of the things we want to do is understand that when we do get upset, we get again into the lower centers of our brain and we become defensive. And we look for blame. So when a child is having a fit or when another person is having a fit, they're going to become defensive and attacking. Our job then is to take a breath and offer empathy. And now empathy is not about happying people up. One mother wrote me and said, well, I tried empathy and it didn't work. She thought she would say, oh, you seem angry, and the child's going to go, oh, yeah, okay, I'm fine now. Empathy is a skill we offer to children who are upset or to another person who's upset to leave them with the ownership of their upset. And so when a child says, I hate you, our job is to say, you seem angry. It's hard when you don't get the remote when you want it. So our job is to offer empathy. If we're in a reactive state, all we want to do is stop the action instead of offer empathy. And we might say stuff like this, you get me involved in this and you're both going to go to your room. Instead of trying to stop behavior, we want to offer the empathy. Here's some words you can use. You seem angry, you sound angry, and then follow that with, it's hard when you have to go to bed when your favorite TV show is on. It's difficult when all your other friends get to go and you don't get to go. And then tag that at the very end with, you can handle this. And then that's all you do. Then you walk away. Does it make the child happy? Are they going to go, oh, thank you, Mom? No. Or thank you, Dad? No. But what it does is it leaves them with the ownership of their own upset. So they can take personal responsibility to decide whether they're going to change their mind or change their actions. By us fussing at people who are upset, they then can justify being upset because it's our fault. Use empathy when someone, your spouse, your coworker, your children, when they get upset, take a breath, get out of the lower centers of the brain that want to stop the behavior, rise through taking a deep breath, being a star, to the higher centers, see from their point of view, and say, you seem really disappointed. You were hoping that you could spend the night with your friends. You can handle this. So until next time, here's your homework. When you find yourself or other people upset, offer empathy. Here's some phrases to get you started. You seem angry. You sound upset. Follow that with, it's hard, and describe the situation. Or you were hoping that, and describe the situation. Or you wanted, and describe the situation. And at the very end say, you can handle this. And then walk away. They're still going to grumble and bleed and whine, but you've left them with personal responsibility. Until next time, I wish you well.
Now you can help the child shift into a higher brain state by giving two positive choices. This gives a child a sense of autonomy. Follow up the choices by providing encouragement with, you did it. Again, this reinforces autonomy and mastery. Then notice when the child does independently engage in pro-social, pro-academic behavior. Watch Dr. Becky Bailey use the noticing skill in this next video.
Welcome to Conscious Clips in Our Time Together. Today I'm going to talk about noticing and the power and difference between noticing and judging. I often refer to conscious discipline as a journey. A journey implies going from one place to another.
So what might be that journey in conscious discipline? On one level, it's a journey from judging to noticing, from demanding that life go as we think it should, the world act as we think it should, to accepting what is and then making the necessary changes. I've often said, and I think many people would agree with me, that awareness is a better change agent than consequences. I think back many years ago when I first started teaching, I would say okay at the end of a sentence. I would go line up at the door, okay, pick up the books, okay. And when someone mentioned to me that I was saying okay, I thought, maybe once or twice or 3 times, maybe. I actually then took a recording device, carried it around with me, and found out on day 1 I said okay 300 times. Day 2 I said it 4 times. That consciousness, my awareness of what I was doing and the impact it was having on others, was a quick change agent. We can't change what we're not aware of. Awareness is another word for consciousness, thus the term conscious discipline. Now, noticing builds consciousness, so that's why noticing is an essential skill and the foundational skill for conscious discipline. It simply is describing what you see. You came over and sat down like this. Boom. You opened your book to page 12. You raised your hand, so I knew you needed help. A lot of you listening would go, well, duh. Doesn't the child know this? Sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. Again, noticing strengthens the frontal lobe, and sometimes children just aren't aware of what they're doing. They're working on automatic pilot. The more noticing we do, the stronger the frontal lobe becomes. Also, when we get triggered, when something happens that's emotional, we become immediately unconscious. We go into the lower centers of our brain and we open our mouth with habitual responses. And the same thing happens with kids. When they get emotionally upset, they become unconscious. So noticing is a skill to bring them out of the lower centers to the higher centers of their brain. So simply noticing helps a child go from unconscious to conscious. Saying, your arm went like this. You sat right down and got busy with your homework. You scooted over so your friends had more space. Simply describing what the child does strengthens their frontal lobe and brings us as an adult to the present moment. We do not receive this with judgment. Judgment sounds more like this. Good job. Oh, that's good. Very good. We can judge and not be present in our brain. With noticing, you must be in the present moment with children, and that's where children live. They don't live in the past. They don't live in the future. They live in the present. So by noticing, we join children, and it offers a sense of connection. The next thing it does is it helps children move from trying to please us to being who they are. Watch this clip, this next clip of me during a number of noticing activities from different grade levels. Pay specific attention to the first one, which is a kindergarten classroom. And as I start noticing, your hands are like this or your hands are like this, all the other kids are going, oh, and they're trying to move their hands to please me. But as I continually notice their differences, they realize, oh, I don't have to please you. I just have to be who I am. Watch the clip carefully and watch all the notice the noticing I'm doing.
She said, stand up and look. Everybody stood up, and you stood up with your hands like this, and you stood up with your hands. Oh, you got yours like this, and you got yours in your pocket. Everybody stood up. Oh, you have yours behind your back. And you have yours right by your side. You all stood up. You scooted over so your friends had more space.
So, first of all, I want you to check with yourself. Do I have enough space, and do my friends have enough space? There you go, and now you guys, there you go, perfect. You scooted over so you had, look at you guys. I noticed you guys scooted over so you'd have a little bit more room. All right, you got it. You know, it was really neat to watch you guys do that, because some of the things I saw, I mean, you guys, first of all, you know, you found your space and you kept it safe. Some of you really got into it. Some of you kind of hang back, and you were a riot, because when you did the reverse, instead of moving his feet, he just turned like this.
He did it a little bit different. Some of you turned all the way around. So each of you did it in your own kind of way. Some of you started talking in the middle, but you separated back out and kept on task. It was really awesome to watch you guys work together.
Oh man, you came right in. You came right in and just sat down. But it's just like this.
And you came in and picked that chair and then scooted over. You changed your mind. You changed your mind.
Can we have
You guys noticed that Philip didn't have, and you said, Philip, you can be with us. So Philip, they're inviting you. Hop on over there. Saying to everybody else, this is important, because he said, y'all all scared? Did y'all hear that? See, he'd already said no, right? He said, no, I ain't going to do it. I passed. Then he said, what are y'all all scared? And so he kind of put his money where his mouth was. Instead of just focus out there like you guys are scared, he took it back and he took within himself and got up and tried it. That was something. That was something.
Good job, guys. For all of you for participating and trying. Good job.
All right. Neat stuff I saw then. And it's like Marion was trying to get over here to greet somebody and kind of bumped into somebody. And by accident, of course, but bumped in and goes, excuse me. I mean, I saw that. And some of you, after you did the greeting, were going, thank you. Or you also waited, you know, when there was like a lineup. I mean, all those things are so helpful. And like you guys were waiting your turn, and somebody said, ouch, or that was too hard.
That's me.
Yeah, it was a little too hard. So you gave her information so she knew. Otherwise, she'd never have a clue what you were talking about. You kind of bumped too hard, but you both kind of gave each other that information. Really neat stuff happening.
Yeah, we really enjoy the greetings, and sometimes
So you helped your friend by showing her exactly where to start. Yes, you did.
6.5.
You don't understand that at all, man. Your face was saying, I don't get it. Both of them, so you can redo it all. There you go. There you go.
Thank you.
Right there. There you go. There you go. You scooted it right up there so you have it. You're double checking your work. That's what you're doing. You're double checking it. Come on. Come on. You can do this. Well, I saw you looking over here checking off these numbers, and that's all right, but I still believe you can do it. Take this little thing, and let's work. That's it. Get a little stretch. Stretch that back out and get that brain moving. Get a little stretch. Noticing is an essential skill. It allows us to be conscious enough to discipline ourselves and our children. Most importantly, it allows each of us to be who we are. Until next time, I wish you well.
All the previous strategies we've talked about, composure, deep breathing, empathy, choices, and encouragement, help all children, regardless of the brain state they're in, and build a positive classroom culture. However, they are absolutely essential for children who move easily into lower brain states. A Wish Well board helps to maintain a sense of belonging and emotional safety in the classroom. These boards are another way to teach empathy, contain anxiety, and help children feel connected to a school community. On the left, a teacher has a picture of each of her students, and when one is absent, his picture is placed in the middle for the class to wish well. On the upper right, a child can wish well toward any person or situation and place a word, name, or picture into the heart. On the bottom right, a secondary classroom has created a station where students can create cards to wish their peers well. Look over the side effects of wishing well. You'll find they're helpful for everyone. Despite all the skills you've learned, as an adult, in order to communicate effectively, you must learn to communicate assertively. We learn to use the power of our words. There are 3 types of interaction: passive, aggressive, and assertive. Read over the following characteristics for the passive person. Read over the characteristics for the aggressive person. Now read over the list for assertive communication. Also note the body language. Assertive body language will often have open hands, straight neck and body posture, calm eye contact, even voice and breathing, with legs hip length apart and feet firmly planted. Assertive body language will not have head cocked to one side and shoulders up near the chin when giving a directive. Remember that a command does not offer a choice, but benefits from specific feedback, such as, "You did it." A thank you should never follow a command when you are addressing a student. A request, such as, "Will you help me carry these boxes to the front office?" offers a choice and requires a thank you. So, with a partner or a recording device, use a passive, an aggressive, and an assertive voice to give the assertive command, "Sit down and look at me." Start now. An easy strategy to maintain children in their executive state and keep them from slipping into an emotional state is to build connections. We can do these simply by greeting each child at the door every morning. Watch the following video.
I love you rituals are designed to build bonds between people so that each person in the interaction feels a sense of connection. Connection with parents, connection with teachers, and connection between children. This sense of connection creates a biochemistry that optimizes the function of our brain.
What a wonderful child you are, with big bright eyes, nice round cheeks, talented person from head to feet.
Child you are, with bright eyes and nice round cheeks, a talented person.
you doing? My name is DJ Baptiste.
Can you get on your knees?
Twinkle, little star, what a wonderful child you are. With bright eyes and cheeks, talented person from head to toe. Twinkle, little star, what a wonderful child you are.
Can I have one more?
One more bear hug for Mr. DJ.
Thank you so much.
Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. With bright eyes and rosy cheeks, a talented mother from head to feet. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. I love you.
In order to keep children in their executive state, children need to know what to expect in class. Visual cues are critical if we want our students to display the behavior we want to see. Another way to maintain a sense of belonging in the classroom is to give meaningful classroom jobs to all children in the class. Remember that jobs are not a reward, but rather a strategy to teach behavior you want them to manifest. Following are examples of meaningful classroom jobs that give children a sense of connection and belonging to the classroom family. Disciplinary issues will arise, but remember that any consequences will only be as effective as the strength of the relationship. When giving a consequence, always refer to the rules in order to avoid power struggles. And of course, refer to your administrative staff for guidance on your school-wide disciplinary procedures. We wish you well. This introduction to strategies for building relationships is only the start of a journey to creating a rich social, emotional learning environment for all of the students.